right, we have another game coming up on actually the Monday night game. Pittsburgh will be playing at Tennessee. The weather is cold, 41 degrees. Do have 5 to 10 mile an hour winds, which is nothing, but 40% chance of some rain and snow on Monday night. Meanwhile, this Pittsburgh team, we were kind of, a lot of people were anointing them as the power in the AFC. They have won 4 of the last 6 games, and they do wind up a 2-game road trip with a bye on deck. But boy, what a terrible performance last week. And a lot of people in Vegas were on the Steelers as they went to the pitiful Jets, and they just got knocked around. Big Ben had that incredible string of 12 touchdowns and no picks, and in violent fashion, as he was just awful against a pretty poor all-around Jets team, and they certainly put some pressure on him. So now they're in bounce-back mode, and Harvard, can we say that this Pittsburgh team is in the right direction despite that little bump in the road?
Well, that bump in the road, I wrote an article about that for Yahoo, and what I had mentioned was just a little analogy, whether people like it or not. Have you ever seen in the PGA Tour when a golfer comes out and shoots a 62 or 63, he usually doesn't follow it up with another 62 or 63. Usually when you see a 62 shot, you follow it up with a 75. You just can't keep that pace going. So I didn't expect anything from Ben last week, and in fact, I made it one of my big AFC plays was taking the New York Jets. Couple things on this game that I noticed. When you first look at this point spread, the line opened at 5. Very, very rarely. If you go back all throughout the season or the years, you will not find almost any games open up at 5. What that's telling the bookmakers is they want to see where the money goes. Usually, if the line goes from 5 and it goes down to 4.5, you take the points. But when it goes from 5 to 5.5, you lay the points. Well, this line opened at 5. It's now at 5.5. So let's watch that. That would get me leaning towards Pittsburgh just from the start of my observations. The next thing is this is a Monday night football game. Remember those home team dogs that you're supposed to bet on Monday night? Well, since 2001, they're 32 and 45. Of course, the odds makers are going to adjust just like everybody else. By the time you figure out you're supposed to take home team dogs, well, for the last 13 years, you've been paying through the nose, losing quite a few of them. The third thing is Pittsburgh's playing into a bye week, and I'll get back to that in just a second. But what do we have for this game? Well, you got Ben, sure, 23 touchdowns. He has a 5-to-1 ratio to interceptions, so he is absolutely just pitching it perfectly. Bell, he's got a 4.5 yards per carry. Antonio Brown is one of the first ones to go over 1,000 yards in receiving, 8 touchdowns. Now, for Tennessee, what you really want to look at is what have they done in their own conference, because that's where everything is. That's where the money is. They're 0-5 against the spread within their own conference. They're 16 and 36 win-loss against teams with a winning record. Now, Jake Locker, he's been out with a thumb injury. He is actually able to come back. I don't know if they're going to put him in or not. Zach Mettenberger, he's been playing quarterback and has not been doing a very good job. Passing, they're 25th. They're ranked 25th in the NFL. Rushing, they're ranked 22nd. And their defense against the run, they're ranked 30th. So they really don't have any. I don't know if they can stop anybody. I don't know if they can score anywhere. And then getting back to what the veterans, as far as Tomlin and Ben and all these guys, they know how important it is to win and go into a bye week with a perfect set mind. You have to have that mindset. So this is one of those games that they might have circled just knowing that they want to win. There's nothing worse than going on the road, losing to a little pissant like Tennessee, and then having to go 2 weeks, down in the dumps and things like that. They're right in the middle of their race. Pittsburgh looks good. They look like that experience actually is it's showing more towards the experience side than the old age side. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh, and I'm going to be laying the 5.5 on the road, and go Steelers.
Yeah, as bad as the New York Jets have been, the Titans really have looked a lot worse. Remember, they opened the season with a win on the road in Kansas City. Well, they're 1-7 since then, and the only victory was over the Jaguars, 16-14. They can't run the football or pass, as Harvard mentioned, and they can't stop the run. They've used 2 quarterbacks who have the same amount of touchdowns as interceptions. So, Zach, I mean, can you make a case for the Tennessee Titans to win or cover against anybody?
This is probably the roughest game we've analyzed on this show in 2.5 months.
Not over yet.
How did they even get scheduled? I mean, really,
Yeah,
they weren't last year. They didn't deserve this type of scheduling, and that's what they usually base it off of.
Somebody's going to get fired.
Yeah, it's Ken Wisenhunt. He got a vote of confidence from the GM a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know how. I think he's coaching horrible right now, and the team's in disarray. I don't think they've covered a game in the last month. Is it 4 to 5 weeks they haven't covered? Even against Baltimore, they were in it, couldn't get the cover. Jacksonville, they had the lead, blew the cover in the fourth quarter. Against the Houston Texans a few weeks ago, blown out. They just cannot. They're not playing well on both sides of the football. But yet, that still it can have to do with what's going on at quarterback. With Jake Locker out, they got rid of Charlie Whitehurst for Zach Metzenberger. They benched Sean Green for Bishop Sankey. So anytime you have that many changes on offense, you're not sure what's going to happen. But sooner or later, after people taking the other side for 3 to 4 weeks, it's going to have a reversal. I won't play this, even though I'll say Tennessee +5. But Pittsburgh, what we've seen from them in the last 3 to 4 years, and this is a pattern that just keeps happening. They get in the tendency of giving you a little hope, giving you a little faith, and then they come out and have a dud game. I think a few years ago they had it against the Cleveland Browns on Thursday Night Football, and they had it against the Tennessee Titans last year. So they have these games where they just can't squeak them out, and we saw last week Ben Roethlisberger I think he was living the high life a little bit from what he did the prior weeks. So the Jets game planned against him, and he made some awful decisions. And this is really, really a tough spot for him again against Tennessee, getting favored by 5 points. But truthfully, don't play this game if you're watching the show. We've got some better picks for you. This game would be, out of the 10 games in the NFL week, 10, 11 games would be the lowest on the board from my standpoint.
Well, I'll take a stand with the Pittsburgh Steelers because they have a lot of edges. This game starts at quarterback, plus on defense, too. This defense of the Steelers, 15th against the pass, 12th against the run. Then you got Big Ben, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, having a great year. And the Tennessee defense, they're 29th against the run. And when you look at scoring, Pittsburgh 8th in the NFL, 26 per game. Titans are 31st, 16 per game. Only the Jacksonville Jaguars are worse. Tennessee against the AFC 0-5-1 against the spread, so I'll take the visitors in bounce-back mode here. All right, if you're looking for winning selections, we have a handicapper 3-pack at JimFeist.com. You get 3 plays all in one package from Zach Harvard and Jim Feist. Those plays are 9 and 3 for last month, including a winning weekend with Harvard's Arizona State Conference Game of the Year, as well as Zach's LSU Bama under the total. Plus, Harvard, you're on a 59-37 run overall. You had a winning 5-pack on Saturday, including that top play with Arizona State. What do you have for this weekend?
Well, one question. When was the last time this late in the year Cleveland was in first place?
Nobody's talking about them either.
I tell you what, let's don't talk too much about them, but that's not a bad team. And the only reason I mentioned that, I keep thinking, how does that settle with someone like Ben going into a bye, knowing that Cleveland is the top dog? They just got to pound this Tennessee team, get out with a victory, and enjoy their 2 weeks off. Back to my promo for this week, and it's more of a, pretty much a cinched lock little bet. This week I spotted a top 10 game of the year. I love these high-profile teams. I break them down. I know, and one of the reasons I like them is it gives me more of a feeling on where the public is betting. If I was to sit there and play Northwestern and they were playing Northern Arizona, I'd have no idea where the money's going because no one would be betting that game. So there is a lot to be said about betting these top 10 teams in terms of following the money and getting that right. It meets my betting criteria for a game of the year of possibly covering of 94.3% or higher. I'm putting it up with my Big 12 mismatch game of the year and also my SEC game of the month. And for this week, these games are so strong, 3-0 guarantee, or I'll email you all the NFL plays absolutely free. My best bet for this week, I don't understand this point spread. I haven't looked at the money or anything like that because it's in the NFL. But I'm going to be taking a team that I really believe in, Jeff Fisher's team, the St. Louis Rams. Right now it's 9.5 or 10. You know, if St. Louis was playing Oakland, everybody would say, who cares? You know, even the fans might not even show up. But for this game, they're playing Denver. They're hosting Denver. Everybody likes to knock off Denver. And St. Louis can do that. They play well at home. They've already beaten the Seattle Seahawks. They've beaten the San Francisco 49ers. They were playing nip and tuck last week with Arizona until a couple tipped balls. Austin Davis, it wasn't really all his fault and things, but this guy is an up-and-coming franchise quarterback for this team. Jeff Fisher will have this team ready. The fans will all be out. So let's take, I mean, you just can't lay this many points to a team that has this good a defense and is good on special teams and field goals and things like that. So let's take St. Louis Rams as my best bet. But your best bet is to go and click on that Harvard over at jimfeist.com and get those 3 huge games, including my top 10 game of the year.
Yeah, these two guys have been winning and covering games in Las Vegas, not for weeks, but for months. And it doesn't happen by accident. They put the work in. Zach, your college football run 29-18, and your NFL run 30-9 against the spread. Give us a best bet, and what do you have for this weekend?
This weekend, Saturday, I haven't circled my games yet, to be honest with you, but I will have a 5-game pack up. I usually like to take a couple days off from delving into the college football odds. So Thursday I'll start looking at those, and I'll have a 5-game board up by later that day. And then in the NFL, I've got some games ready that I should have on the website here midweek. But my best bet, well, first, make sure you go on jimfeist.com. Both packages are usually between the $50 and $65 range, depending on the picks. And I've been coming in the green every single week. I've had 2 weeks of 2-2 splits, but other than that, you're making money each and every week, so go on there. I've got great rates for weekly and monthly packages as well, so you can get a full month with me at jimfeist.com. But for my best bet, it's going to be one that I discussed last week. I'm 8-3 on the show, and it's going to be the Arizona Cardinals once again. And this is one of my rules not to do that, but this time I'm going to. And the reason why, I said last week, the odds makers have still fallen for the trap of not giving the Cardinals the proper point spread love. And that week, or that game against St. Louis was going to change that. Guess what happens in the fourth quarter? Carson Palmer goes down. Odds makers have to readjust once again for this Cardinals team. And instead of it being a -3, -3.5 against the Detroit Lions this week, it's a -1 just because Drew Stanton's starting at quarterback. And there's 2 mental edges in this game that I love. First, Drew Stanton, former Detroit Lions backup quarterback, wasn't re-signed by the Lions, obviously. They went a different route. He's in Arizona. I've seen his practices. I've been down there a couple times at the Glendale Stadium. He commands the team. And Bruce Arians has said time and time again, no matter who's at quarterback, he's not changing his philosophy. And if he doesn't change his philosophy, I love the way the Cardinals offense is running. Andre Ellington coming out of the backfield, and their receivers are phenomenal. We've got Larry Fitzgerald, Michael Floyd, and the least talked about rookie in John Brown. I mean, Kelvin Benjamin, some of these other rookies, Sammy Watkins, Mike Evans, they're doing great, but John Brown is the best deep threat rookie wide receiver in football right now. He's getting open, he's getting behind every secondary, and he's able to get into the end zone. And Drew Stanton threw a nice throw to him last week for the game winner, and we saw him do Carson Palmer do it a few weeks ago against the Eagles. The other mental edge, Matthew Stafford has been one of those hot potato quarterbacks his whole career. And if you go back to the last time he played in Arizona, 38-10, a drubbing loss late in the season at Arizona when Arizona was going through their quarterbacks left and right. They had Kevin Cobb. They went to John Skelton. They went to Cleveland's quarterback for a few weeks, and then they finally went to Ryan Lindley. So they had Brian Hoyer, then Ryan Lindley, who had an awful game against the Lions. But guess what Matthew Stafford did? He gave them 2 pick sixes, and they had a total of 4 turnovers against the Arizona Cardinals. Those are types of things that don't go away. You can better believe Matthew Stafford has that in the back of his head, and that Arizona Cardinals fans are going to be loud and screaming, loud, and throwing antics at him, and they'll get him rattled a little bit. So I like Arizona this week once again as the best bet, and we'll see what happens. Let's go 9-3.
All right, best bet will be the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday night in bounce-back mode. Jim Feist is off a 4-0 run with NFL high rollers this past weekend, including the Eagles on Monday night, plus a rare online high roller play with the Arizona Cardinals, 31-14. The last 2 months, he's released 5 of these online, a perfect 5-0. Another one is available on jimfeist.com. It's going Sunday. Good luck with the games, everyone, and we'll see you next week with another edition of the NFL version of Pro Line.